This is the Buffalo Community Podcast, all about the greatest small town in the USA, the people in it, and how it all works together. Here are your hosts, Tyler Reiss and Mark Benzer.
Hey everybody, it's Tyler Reiss with the Buffalo Community Podcast. We've got another fun episode for you, and this is episode 63-ish. 63-ish, somewhere around there. Yeah. We don't know when it's coming out. But we've got Jason Crane with Home Instead with us today. Yeah. Jason, thanks for coming in.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah. So I received a message from one of your employees.
Yeah, hey. I think it was Angela.
Yep, Angela. Yep. So we've been going back and forth, so thank you for working around your schedule as well of coming on in here. We want to learn a little bit more about Home Instead and then about you.
Yeah.
What is Home Instead?
So what we are is we're a company of caregivers, myself included. I have an aging parent, right, who's got dementia. And so what we basically do is we have caregivers throughout the community. In Buffalo is one of our areas where we have caregivers that go into the homes of our senior clients. And so we bring the care into the home, but we're not medical. So we're doing the things that maybe I would do for my mom, maybe helping her with groceries, helping her with some of the cleaning around the house, Okay. And then there's bathing and there's some personal cares and things like that, medication reminders, making sure, hey, Mom, it's time to take your medication. Sure. So our caregivers do all of that stuff as, companionship. As we know, obviously during the pandemic, isolation, loneliness is a big deal. So just loving on seniors in their homes is part of what we do. Yeah.
Sure. Getting started in that is the alternative, and maybe we're just diving right into it, the alternative of Home Instead, so maybe a child doesn't have the time or they're not local. I mean, is that where Home Instead comes in of instead of going to a care facility?
Correct. So instead of the senior going into the care facility, our caregivers would go into the home and provide that care. And what's interesting, especially since the pandemic hit, you've probably met people who haven't been able to get in to see their mom or their dad. Yeah. This happened to me as well, where I couldn't see my mom. I had to look through a window, right? And so more and more seniors that are in their homes, and they're like, you know what? I think I want to bring care into my home. Sure. And so we're getting a lot of calls from sons and daughters going, hey, we'd like Home Instead. Can we meet with you? Can we talk to you about bringing care into my mom's home because she wants to stay at home?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe this is, I don't know if I can ask or not, but are a lot of, this is the insurance geek in me, but with long-term care, I mean, are you dealing a lot with long-term care companies and coordinating care in that way? Or
great question. Yeah. So we are private pay, but people have long-term care policies. And what's interesting about it is a lot of people forget they have them.
Oh, geez.
They've literally had them for years.
Insurance guy.
Yeah, they forgot they had them. And we take long-term care insurance. We've literally had clients. One of my best friends growing up in high school, when I was in Wisconsin, so I started with Home Instead in Wisconsin, we started his services with his mom like 6 years ago. I talked to him literally like a few months ago, and he goes, I just found out I have a long-term care policy, and we weren't using it. We're using it now, but for like 4 years or so, he had his mom, he was paying out of pocket, and he could have been using long-term care. So that's something that's a good point.
Yeah. I never would have imagined somebody would forget that they had it, but what a great, exciting thing to find out. Oh, hey, by the way, you don't have to be carrying the load on all of this.
Right.
Awesome.
Yeah. You live in Buffalo.
Yeah, I live right over in the on Westridge, over near Pulaski.
Sure. Yeah. Tell everybody exactly where you live.
Yeah, tell this is yeah, exactly. I'll give you my address.
Yeah. All 200,000 of our listeners here.
Yeah, you can send a care package.
Right. Yeah. So, Angela said, you're involved in the community. Tell us a little bit more about the other projects here.
Yeah. So my wife and I, we moved in right before the pandemic.
Okay.
And so it's been a little hard to get to know people being new to Buffalo. I actually did flyer all my neighbors and invited them all over before the pandemic hit. So we had a little party to get to know our neighbors. But I volunteer. I'm a worship leader. I play music at the Quarry Church, which it's in Monticello. But now we're on 80. I think it's 85 on is the address on Highway 25. It used to be Monticello Covenant Church, but now it's the Quarry, and I worship.
Okay,
I play guitar and I sing, and so that's one of the things that I like to do. But we'd like to get more involved in the community. Obviously, I met Terry, our mayor, and had breakfast with her. I'm like, I got to get to know the mayor, right?
Sure.
So we're involved, right? Go right to the top.
Yeah.
And I understand she's been on this show too several times.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
Absolutely. Everybody's name dropping today.
Yeah.
Everybody's name dropping.
Yeah.
So.
Yes. So we want to really get really involved in the Buffalo community because we're only a year and a half here and love the community.
Good.
Yeah.
Where were you prior?
So interesting story. I grew up in Appleton, Wisconsin. My wife and I met I went to Marquette. She's from Milwaukee. Mm-hmm. Then we moved to Chicago. We had our baby number one. Then I got transferred with Guitar Center. I was with Guitar Center for 20 years. Got transferred to California. We had 4 boys in California. So now we had 5 kids. We were there 11 years, moved back to Chicago because I ran the Chicago market for Guitar Center and left in 2013. Went from music retail to home instead. And everyone always asks the question, what is music retail and home instead, senior care have in common?
Natural progression.
Total progression. But no, there is
They teach that in business school.
there is a connection. Here's the connection. Musicians will work almost for nothing, right? Because as a musician, me being a musician, right, I have a little recording studio and stuff, right? I love music so much. If you turn a mic on, let's play, let's do it. I don't have to love to get paid, but I just love, it's part of who I am.
Sure.
Yeah.
Caregivers, same deal.
Sure.
Of course, we pay our caregivers, but they don't do it for the money. They do it because they absolutely positively love caring for people. It's who they are. It's in their DNA. So when I moved from Guitar Center to home instead, and I was in Wisconsin there for 5 years, absolutely loved our caregivers and what they provide for seniors because they got that passion. Mm-hmm. It's the same kind of passion that you have for music,
Mm-hmm. What's your favorite genre of music?
Boy, my favorite band growing up was the Police. I love Sting. And matter of fact, I was supposed Roxanne.
Wow.
I had tickets. That's right. That's actually the song. I can sing that song, but I'd probably blow the mic out.
Yeah.
But I had tickets 5th row for the Ordway, April 9th, 2020. Sting was going to be in his own play, right? The Last Ship.
Yeah.
Canceled. So I'm thinking that they're re-upping it for April 2021. I'm thinking, yes, cancel. I'm like so bummed because I want to see. I mean, I've seen him in concert, but I wanted to be like this close. I wanted to be there, right? So the Police was my favorite, but now I do listen to quite a bit of modern country, but it's not. It's if you go back 20 years, it's really more. The songwriting, the lyrics is more like what I grew up with.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's a little more meat there than some of the pop stuff today. So, I like all kinds of music.
Right. Yeah.
Classic rock.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite band?
Eagles.
Oh, I love the Eagles.
Eagles, Bob Seger, love it.
One quick story. No, I digress. Joe Walsh was one of my customers when I was in Sherman Oaks. He'd come in every week and buy a guitar. He'd come in with he'd have him, his manager would come in with him. And I had an artist relations guy, John Lee Cooper, and he would help him out. And he would come in and he'd buy a guitar every week. Great guy. So one day he comes in, and we had a bathroom out in the main showroom. Now, this is a huge store. This is like 80 employees, right? It's a big music store. He didn't want to use the regular bathroom because, I want a little privacy. Joe Walsh.
Yeah.
So we have this bathroom. It's in the warehouse. My office is in the warehouse, right? So he comes in. And John Lee goes, "Hey, Jason, I want you to meet Joe." And I shook his hand hanging out. And he goes, "Well, I'm going to use the bathroom." So I went back to what I was doing. And what I was doing is I was redoing the layaway shelf. And I was kind of tightening things up. And he walks out from the bathroom. He turns to me and he goes, "Hey, what are you doing? You're the boss of this place, right?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "What are you doing? Like, don't you have people can do that for you?" And I just looked at him. I said, "Joe, it's kind of like you have roadies and they do all this work, and I bet every once in a while you just pick up your amp and move it just to show that you can help out." And he goes, that ain't going to happen. And he walked up.
That's awesome.
He was awesome. But he gave me a shirt and a hat. And
cool.
But I saw him every week. It was awesome. Yeah.
That's
One guitar a week.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was probably because he gave up everything, drugs, alcohol, in like 1992.
yeah.
And this was his thing.
vice.
And he's like, and didn't have to be a $2,000-$3,000 guitar. It could be like a Dan Electro $400 little guitar that you just like the way it felt.
Yeah.
You know?
It's funny because he could buy 10 guitars every week.
Right.
But for some reason it was just like, well, no.
Yeah, and he'd trade some in, and then he'd buy
Sure.
some, and he was kind of like, he just liked being around music, you know?
Yeah, that's fantastic. Have you seen the rockumentary, The Eagles?
I did see it on Netflix. Yeah.
So, first time I saw that, and I was already an Eagles fan,
Yeah.
and seeing that because they did a lot of recording back in the 70s,
Yeah.
and then they're telling the story back from a few years ago, kind of
Right.
when he goes, when you're going through life, and at the end of it, it seems like a finely crafted novel. Why did this happen? When? Why,
Right.
Here it makes sense, but in the thick of it,
Right.
it doesn't.
Yeah.
And then they kind of jump back now they're touring.
Yeah.
So I've always found him extremely interesting
Yeah.
because you hear the rock star and then the sober rock star.
Yeah.
So that's cool. I feel like I'm in royalty here.
Yeah, no. I'll come back and I'll tell you, because this music store that I ran we had $3 million in inventory. We had, this is a $25 million music store right in the center of where all the artists come in.
Yeah.
I mean, one day I looked up and there's Marlon Brando with his 2 grandkids.
Mm-hmm.
And he came in to buy a classical guitar. I mean, it's just like every day was, someone from Journey, Madonna's mic person coming in to buy wireless mics for her concert that night. It was just every day was something new.
You ever get starstruck?
Not when you're around it every single day. Then you're just like, we had a saying, treat a regular guy like a celebrity and a celebrity like a regular guy. Sure. And so what we never did is go, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
it's Pink.
Yep.
But she'd come in, she would be in her sweats, and unless you knew what she looked like, you wouldn't know it's Pink.
Sure.
You just treat them like just totally regular people.
Right.
Cool.
Because they would never come back if you're going, hey, can I have your autograph? They'd be like,
Sure.
no.
Yeah.
I want to go to Guitar Center because I feel like I'm part of it. You know?
Yeah.
So, anyways,
Yeah.
has a lot to do with home instead, by the way.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. No.
But it is.
A lot of it is when we sit here talking to people nobody knows that if they ever met you.
No, I
about
love
home
talking
instead.
about that stuff. It seems like ages ago when I was in my 30s.
Sure.
That whole thing, but
Yeah.
I love talking music, talking shop.
Sure.
Yeah.
If we jump back to home instead.
Oh, you don't have to. I was just kidding.
No. I guess I'm just if I'm watching this thinking like, maybe that's a good service that maybe somebody could take this off my plate. I guess, is there a minimum amount of care that you guys provide and then a maximum amount of care?
Oh, that's a good question.
And then at that point you're
So the minimum is 8 hours a week, 2 4-hour shifts, and the maximum, we have 24/7 clients.
Wow.
We have clients that were in their house every minute of every day, just because they need that and they can afford it, and they say, "Listen, I want to stay in my house."
Right. Yeah. And so really there's no ask that's too big of home instead.
No, there really isn't. There really isn't. That is something that we really listen. It's something where you have to really listen for what is the right thing for them to be successful in the home. Let me give you an example. So people oftentimes will bring in hospice, or they have a home health nurse that'll come in to make sure they're doing their rehab. Let's say they had a stroke and they're at home. A lot of times people think that those services do everything else. And so they think, well, we have that, so we don't need care. And then they learn fairly quickly that, no, that's just the medical portion. You need to fill the gaps so that the family doesn't get exhausted. We always say we want our sons and daughters to be sons and daughters. They want to just be a daughter again. Yeah. They don't want to be the primary caregiver. That wears them out,
When you sit down with, if we're to say, I think my mom and dad need help.
Yeah.
I mean, is there a counseling session right there?
Yep.
What is it? Because I wouldn't know. I don't even know where to start.
So what's really interesting is how we handle that as we go in, and Connie, for example, Connie Thompson's my home care consultant. She'll sit down, she'll be with them for 2 hours, and you know the questions she'll ask? Tell me about yourself. Hey, what do you like to do? And what she'll do is find out, who is this human being that I'm talking to? What do they used to do? Do they like gardening? Do they like reading books? Do they like puzzles?
Sure.
Do they like this? What is it that they like to do? And then she'll get a little more personal and say, hey, let's walk. Let me see, how do you feel? How comfortable are you standing and walking?
Sure.
She'll assess, and then based on all the information, then she'll say, listen, I really think what would be best for you is X amount of care. Mm-hmm. But she always starts with, to us it's personal. That's Home Instead slogan. To us it's personal. It's like, what would I do if I'm sitting there with my dad or my mom? I have to be assessing based on what I know about my parents. And so she treats everyone as though it's their mom or her mom or dad. Mm-hmm. And that's so important,
Typically, where does the first call come from? Is it a child, an adult child?
Yep.
Or is it the aging parent themselves?
So there is a term that we use marketing and research. We call them the Kathy. And what a Kathy is it's a middle-aged woman, ages 40 to 60, that is the one that makes the call. And 80 to 90% of the time, it's the daughter. And the reason being, I think women are a little bit more nurturing. They know what's going on with mom and dad. Yeah. Son shows up and is like, hey, let's go. Let's watch the ball game. Daughter comes in, listens, watch. Yeah. And so typically 80% of the time, it's that middle-aged woman calling.
80%.
Yeah, 80%. And so a lot of our marketing is geared towards that person.
Mm-hmm. Sure. So Heather, get on it as a middle-aged woman.
Yeah.
Heather's my older sister. She's not middle-aged yet, though.
Yeah.
But anyway.
She'll appreciate that.
Yeah, there you
sure.
go. Yeah, you get Tyler.
We're just going to stick mom and dad into a home.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Just kidding. Yeah. I do know my mom and dad are going to be listening, though.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
No, that's great, especially if you've identified that.
Yeah.
Because knowing where to start is usually maybe the biggest hurdle.
Yep.
Is a guess of mine.
Knowing where to start and knowing when to start, Tyler. I mean, I'll tell you the biggest issue, well, in healthcare in general, you talk to your primary doctor, they're always like, hey, you waited too long. Hospice, they always say their pain point, you should have brought us on earlier. It would have been free, and you would have probably done better for a longer period of time had you. Home care, the same way. Yeah. It's the independence piece that's difficult. Mm-hmm. So how do you tell a senior, listen, you're going to have someone come into your home. You feel like you're losing your independence, but you know what you're really doing is you're increasing your independence because you're going to be able to stay home longer if you catch it early. Mm-hmm. If you wait until you fall and you break your hip, some people never go home again because they can't. So I'm telling you, Tyler, I was pounding on my dad going, Dad, you need a caregiver. You could see him just wearing down, like physically. My mom has dementia, right? I'm like, Dad, you need a caregiver. She had several falls, but she's like a tank. I mean, she's black eye. I mean,
like a boxer.
I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, Mom, you need a Finally, he got a caregiver, and now when he goes out to golf,
he has fun.
He doesn't have to worry. Yeah. He can actually go after the game and have a beer with his buddies, and he feels like he got his life back. Mm-hmm. So there's a little guilt there. A little feeling like, well, what am I doing? I have to do everything. No, you be a husband. Let someone else take care of it.
Yeah, there's that fulfillment of your marriage vows, right?
Yeah.
That maybe you feel like you're cheating out on by asking for help.
Right.
Like
exactly.
Rich or poor, sickness and health. Like I'm going to take care of, and maybe part of you being there for your wife is asking for help. Maybe that's the best thing you can do.
Right, and we basically had to tell my dad, listen, this caregiver, it's not for Mom. It's for you.
Yeah.
You need the time away. You're going to be a better husband because I can see it on your face. Mm-hmm. You're wearing down. Yeah, you're aging because you're stressed. There is a Home Instead website, and I would just say this openly because it's free. It's called caregiverstress.com, and it's meant for family caregivers. So if you're listening, go on to caregiverstress.com, and there's a lot of just stuff there just to read up about, like, how could I be a better caregiver, and how can I make sure that I'm recharging my batteries and that kind of stuff. So,
Sure.
Yeah.
So you've identified a few different areas. This is one of your service areas. Is it metro area, Buffalo, surrounding?
You're not gonna believe it. So my wife and I, we own 2 franchise territories. Our territories from Stillwater all the way to Maple Grove and north, all the way up to St. Cloud.
Okay.
And east. So this territory is huge. If it ever spills, like we have parts of Plymouth, if it's like south of 55, it's then my buddy John Stuck, he owns that other Homestead. Homestead is worldwide and it's nationwide. There's very few open territories.
Oh, okay.
Because we've been around since 1994, and it's we're the leader in this type of home care. So if I can't help a person because it's not in my territory, I immediately will call my partner, John or Jim Pitzner, who's in St. Paul, and say, hey, I've got someone for you. We're really, even if we can't help a person, Connie or Mike, who's in the Andover office, we will find a resource for you, because our job is not to just take your business. Our job is to make sure whatever's right for you, that we get you connected to the right person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Because it's personal.
It's totally personal. Yeah. I mean, some people are looking for county waiver, which is covered by the state. We don't do waiver. Some people do. We hand that off to a company that does take waivers,
Sure.
So
what's the biggest thing that people don't know about getting started, or just kind of that one, other than the insurance part? Kind of that biggest change to expect.
What they probably, so here's what'll happen is we'll put a caregiver in a home, and they'll love a caregiver. And then the caregiver is sick or goes on vacation, and they'll say, I don't want another caregiver. Every caregiver was a stranger on day one.
Yeah.
Sure.
Every person that came in your home was a stranger on day one. By day 3, you're like best friends. So if the one thing that is preventing you from bringing in care is that, oh my gosh, I can't have a stranger in my home, just remember, it's like a week later, you're like best friends. So one of the things that we do is we have what's called a 100% introduction policy. We have a third person. So here's the senior, here's the door, senior anxiety, caregiver anxiety. Well, we bring someone along with the caregiver to do the introduction, because it's been proven when you have 3 people, the stress is greatly reduced, right? It really reduces it. So, and the person has been trained on how to make a proper introduction, do a safety walk, just make sure that there's a connection, probably stay there about an hour before they leave, the caregiver and the senior, and before they leave. So I would say the number one thing is just that anxiety about doing it, and that's what's preventing people from bringing care in, is because they're worried, who is this person that's going to come into my home?
Right.
Yeah.
And it's a legitimate concern. But the thing about a company like Homestead is we're going to back, all the insurance and bonding, in-state, we do drug testing, in-state, out-of-state background checks. If I'm going to put someone in your mother's home, I have to be confident I put them in my mother's home.
Yeah.
So we have to remove all of those, as best as we can, the anxiety about this person coming into the home,
Yep.
A little bit more about you.
Yeah.
When you're not playing music or at church or at work,
Yeah.
what do you like to do?
Oh my goodness. That's well, I mean, I love outdoors. I mean, I absolutely love to boat, to golf, to do, water skiing, sports, snow ski, all that kind of stuff. But I do like golf. I'm not very good.
Nobody is.
Nobody is. Nobody's as good as they'd like to be, but I do love golf.
Yeah.
And I think it's the camaraderie, being outside, Hey, you golf? You guys both golf a little bit?
Yeah, I did more last year than ever
Yeah.
before. And actually, Mark and we'd sneak away in the middle of the day of, hey, do you have anything going on? Let's go to Heights and get a quick round in. So you're exactly right. It's that camaraderie of, hey, just being able to escape life just a little bit. There's an hour. We're going to be back. So that's really fun.
Yeah, I love it. And I love boating and getting outside. And I tinker. Do you guys? I tinker in my garage. I don't know if there's something therapeutic about just cleaning the garage out, doing something on the home, turn some music up. I've done some. I mean, our home was a little bit of a fixer-upper. Sure. And we put money in and drywall this, drywall that. Paint this, paint that. Yeah. And I get lost in that. Plus, it's good exercise. So I like that too.
I have a little side story off air I'm going to tell you about your house.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's awesome.
You probably know where I live.
Absolutely. But yeah, yes.
Something hidden in the basement I don't know about, right?
We'll say it off air. As we're kind of winding down here, we kind of like this about 30-minute mark. Is there, if you had to leave anybody a message that's watching right now, what would that be?
Ooh, do you want me a message about care for seniors or
whatever?
Doesn't matter. Whatever speaks to your heart.
Oh, geez. Boy, that's a really good question.
Thank you.
I guess my message would be of hope. There's songs about what kills you doesn't what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Yeah. Everyone's talking about the new normal and everything else, and we're gonna get through this pandemic thing, and it's going to make us stronger. Definitely better at Zoom, right?
Yeah, right.
We're gonna be better at Zoom and we use Teams at home instead. Yeah. But it is going to get better, and I'm a man of faith, so God is in control. I'm not. I know that it'll return, and that comfort and being able to take our masks off and enjoy each other's company. But we just have to. We just have to know how blessed we are, and we'll have to get through this. I mean, we truly are in the United States of America. We are so blessed that we're free and that we're able to do what we do. And this is just a blip. Right. Well, 2 years from now, I hope we won't even remember it.
Right.
Please.
We actually, I'm a grandparent as of a few months ago, and a COVID baby. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now my daughter, she lives in a place called Qatar, which is spelled Qatar, right? Yeah. Her and her husband, and so we haven't seen the baby other than pictures.
Yeah.
So they're coming. We're actually going to fly meet them in New York, but they're coming to Buffalo in July. So that's hopeful for us.
Yeah.
And I know that there's many of you listening that haven't seen your parents, haven't been able to hug your parents, but there's hope. And I know this thing's we're gonna make it through it, and we're gonna be stronger for it. Yeah.
The day is coming.
Absolutely. Congratulations on being a grandparent.
Thank you. Do I look like a grandparent? I don't know. I feel young.
Not at all. Yeah, exactly. Young, cool grandparent. Young, cool grandparent.
You just keep water skiing and
keep water skiing and doing push-ups.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Jason, thanks for coming on.
Yay.
We really appreciate it.
Tyler,
if you want to learn more, you can always go to their website, which is somewhere in the link description above. But for the Buffalo Community Podcast, I'm Tyler Reiss.
I'm Mark Benzer.
Jason Crane. Thank you. Home instead.